The health world is currently obsessed with bone broth. We sip it like an elixir of youth, hoping those simmered minerals and gelatinous proteins will somehow stitch our aging bodies back together. But there is a silent crisis brewing in our mirrors, a thinning of the limbs and a softening of the frame known as sarcopenia. For years, we've been told that collagen is the secret to longevity, yet as we age, our strength continues to slip away. The truth is, bone broth is an incomplete promise. It lacks the essential triggers required to signal your body to build and maintain hard, functional muscle. If you are relying on broth to keep you strong into your 60s, 70s, and beyond, you are bringing a plastic knife to a sword fight. Today, we are exposing the massive nutritional gap left by the bone broth trend and introducing the one singular whole food powerhouse that actually halts muscle wastage in its tracks. This isn't just about looking fit, it's about the metabolic engine that keeps you independent, mobile, and alive. We are moving beyond the hype and into the hard science of muscle-building nutrition that bone broth simply cannot touch. Prepare to rethink everything you thought you knew about protein quality and the true antidote to the theft of your strength. To understand why bone broth fails as a muscle builder, we have to look at the anabolic trigger. Every time you eat protein, your body decides whether to use those amino acids to repair hair and skin or to actually build new muscle tissue. Bone broth is rich in collagen, which is fantastic for your connective tissues and perhaps your complexion, but it is fundamentally incomplete. It lacks high concentrations of essential amino acids, particularly the branched-chain variety. When we talk about sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass, we are talking about a state where the body becomes anabolically resistant. This means as you get older, your body requires a much louder, stronger signal to grow muscle than it did when you were 20. Bone broth is a whisper when your body needs a shout. It doesn't contain the leucine threshold necessary to flip the switch of muscle protein synthesis. While it's a comforting warm beverage, relying on it as a primary protein source is a metabolic mistake that leaves your muscles starving for the building blocks they actually need. We need to stop confusing healthy-sounding liquids with the high-octane fuel required to maintain the physical scaffolding of the human frame. The biological value of what you eat determines the quality of the muscle you keep. Now, let's introduce the hero of our story, the whole egg. Often maligned and frequently misunderstood, the humble egg is the biological gold standard for human nutrition. When scientists measure the quality of a protein, they use a scale called biological value, or BV. Bone broth sits near the bottom of the functional protein scale, while the whole egg sits at the absolute top with a score of 100. Why does this matter for sarcopenia? Because the egg contains a perfect profile of all 9 essential amino acids in the exact proportions the human body needs to thrive. But the real secret weapon inside the egg isn't just the protein, it's the synergy between the white and the yolk. For decades, we were told to throw away the yolks to avoid cholesterol, but recent studies have shown that whole eggs stimulate muscle protein synthesis significantly more than egg whites alone, even when the protein content is matched. There is a matrix effect within the whole egg, a combination of phospholipids, vitamins, and minerals that tells your DNA it's time to build. If bone broth is a scattered pile of bricks, the whole egg is a fully equipped construction crew ready to reinforce your skeletal muscle. It is the most efficient, cost-effective, and bioavailable tool we have to fight the frailty that comes with age. Sarcopenia is often called the theft of independence. It begins subtly, perhaps a jar that's harder to open, a slight stumble on the stairs, or a feeling of fatigue after a short walk. By the time most people realize they're losing muscle, they have already lost 10 to 20% of their total mass. This loss isn't just about strength. Muscle is your largest metabolic organ. It regulates your blood sugar, manages your hormones, and acts as a reservoir for amino acids that your immune system needs during times of illness. When you lose muscle, your metabolism slows down, your risk of type 2 diabetes skyrockets, and your bones become more brittle because they lack the mechanical tension that muscle provides. This is why the choice between bone broth and high-quality whole foods like eggs is so critical. You cannot broth your way out of a metabolic decline. You need the metabolic spark that comes from high leucine, high-quality animal proteins. Sarcopenia is not an inevitable part of aging. It is a nutritional and physical deficiency that we have the power to reverse. By shifting our focus from collagen-based liquids to nutrient-dense muscle-building solids, we can reclaim the power and stability of our youth. To stop the theft of muscle, we must master muscle protein synthesis, or MPS. Imagine your muscles are a wall that is constantly being broken down and rebuilt. Every day, through movement and metabolism, bricks are knocked off that wall. To put them back, you need two things: a signal to start working and the bricks themselves. The signal is an amino acid called leucine. Think of leucine as the foreman of the construction site. Without enough leucine, the workers won't even show up. Bone broth is notoriously low in leucine. However, a single large egg contains a potent dose of this trigger. But here is the kicker. As we age, we develop anabolic resistance, meaning we need a higher leucine threshold to start the building process. While a younger person might trigger MPS with a small snack, an older adult needs about 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in a single sitting to flip the switch. This is roughly equivalent to 4 whole eggs. When you hit that threshold, your body finally moves from a state of breakdown into a state of growth. This is the biological reality that bone broth enthusiasts often ignore. You aren't just what you eat. You are what you can successfully signal your body to build. Let's talk about the whole food matrix and why the yolk is non-negotiable. For years, the yolk was the villain of the breakfast table, feared for its cholesterol. But the science has evolved. Researchers at the University of Illinois conducted a study where they compared people eating 18 grams of protein from egg whites versus 18 grams of protein from whole eggs after a workout. Even though the protein amount was identical, the whole egg group had a 40% higher muscle-building response. Why? The yolk contains unique lipids and micronutrients like vitamin D, selenium, and choline that act as cofactors for muscle growth. Bone broth, while containing minerals, is essentially a filtered byproduct. It lacks the complex biological information found in a whole egg. Furthermore, the fats in the yolk help with the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins that are crucial for testosterone production and inflammatory control. When you choose the whole food over the trendy supplement or the strained broth, you are giving your body a symphony of nutrients that work in harmony. The egg is a self-contained life support system designed to create life. Bone broth is just the leftover structure. To rebuild a human body, we need the tools that create life. When we compare the nutritional data side by side, the disparity becomes even more shocking. To get the same amount of muscle-building leucine found in 4 eggs, you would have to drink an almost impossible amount of bone broth, liters upon liters, and even then you wouldn't have the full spectrum of essential amino acids to complete the job. Bone broth is high in glycine and proline, which are great for your gut lining and joint health, but they don't move the needle on muscle mass. In the fight against sarcopenia, we have to prioritize protein efficiency. This is the measure of how much of the protein you eat actually ends up as body tissue. Eggs have a net protein utilization of nearly 94%. This means almost nothing goes to waste. Compare that to plant proteins or incomplete animal proteins like collagen, where the utilization is significantly lower. For someone over the age of 50, every bite counts. You cannot afford to fill your stomach with empty protein that doesn't serve your muscles. By replacing your morning broth or toast with a dense serving of whole eggs, you are fundamentally changing your body's internal chemistry from one of decay to one of resilience. Beyond just protein, the whole egg provides a treasure trove of micronutrients that are often missing in the modern diet. Take choline, for example. The vast majority of people are deficient in this critical nutrient, which is essential for brain health and the signaling between your nerves and your muscles. If your brain cannot effectively communicate with your muscle fibers, your strength will diminish regardless of how much protein you eat. Eggs are one of the best sources of choline on the planet. Then there is vitamin D, often called the master hormone. Low levels of vitamin D are directly linked to muscle weakness and an increased risk of falls in the elderly. While bone broth has some minerals, it is not a significant source of these fat-soluble powerhouses. When you consume the yolk, you are fortifying your nervous system and your hormonal health simultaneously. This multi-pronged approach is exactly what is required to defeat sarcopenia. It's not just about bulk, it's about the precision of the neurological and hormonal systems that allow you to move with grace and power. The egg is a multivitamin wrapped in a high-quality protein shell. So how do we put this into practice? To truly kill sarcopenia, you need to change your protein distribution. Most people eat very little protein at breakfast, a bit more at lunch, and a massive amount at dinner. This is a mistake. Your body can only process so much protein from muscle synthesis in one sitting. To maximize your results, you want to spike your muscle protein synthesis 3 times a day. This is where the egg becomes your best friend. Starting your day with 3 to 4 eggs ensures that you hit that leucine threshold first thing in the morning, pulling your body out of the fasted catabolic state it entered overnight. Bone broth can still be a part of your life. It's great for hydration and salt, but it should be a side dish, not the main event. Consider poaching or soft boiling your eggs to keep the nutrients in the yolk as intact as possible. By structuring your meals around this high-quality source, you create a consistent anabolic environment that makes muscle loss nearly impossible. Consistency is the key. Every meal is an opportunity to tell your body that it is still young, still strong, and still growing. We must address the elephant in the room, the cholesterol myth. For decades, eggs were demonized because they contained dietary cholesterol. However, we now know that for the vast majority of people, dietary cholesterol has very little impact on blood cholesterol levels. Your liver actually produces more cholesterol than you eat. If you eat more, your liver simply produces less. More importantly, cholesterol is the raw material your body uses to produce testosterone and other steroid hormones that are essential for maintaining muscle mass. By avoiding eggs, you might actually be starving your body of the building blocks it needs for hormonal health. The fear of eggs has contributed to the epidemic of sarcopenia by pushing people toward processed carbohydrates and safe but low-nutrient foods like plain broth or cereal. It is time to let go of outdated nutritional dogmas. The science is clear. Whole eggs are safe, they are healthy, and for anyone concerned about aging and muscle loss, they are absolutely necessary. Don't let 1970s science dictate your 2020s vitality. Embrace the yolk and the hormonal benefits it brings to your metabolic table. Of course, nutrition is only half the battle. To truly kill sarcopenia, the protein from those eggs needs a destination. Resistance training is the mechanical signal that complements the chemical signal of leucine. When you lift weights or perform bodyweight exercises, you create a demand for those amino acids. The eggs provide the supply. Without the demand, your body will still be less efficient at building muscle. However, when you combine the highest quality protein on Earth with even moderate resistance training, the results are transformative. Studies show that even in people in their 80s and 90s, the combination of high leucine protein and strength training can lead to significant muscle gain and improved mobility. You are never too old to start, and your muscles are never too far gone to be rescued. This is the ultimate synergy, the perfect food meeting the perfect stimulus. While bone broth might help your joints feel a little smoother during your workout, the eggs are what will actually allow you to lift the weight. Build the demand through movement and meet that demand with the golden power of the whole egg.
In conclusion, it is time to shift our perspective on what it means to eat for longevity. Bone broth is a wonderful, comforting addition to a healthy diet, but it is not a muscle-building miracle. It cannot replace the sheer biological power of the whole egg. If you want to maintain your independence, protect your metabolism, and kill sarcopenia before it kills your quality of life, you must prioritize high-quality, complete proteins. The whole egg is nature's most perfect package for doing exactly that. It is affordable, versatile, and scientifically proven to outperform almost every other protein source on the planet. Stop fearing the yolk and start fueling your future. Tomorrow morning, when you reach for your breakfast, remember that you are choosing the foundation of your physical self. Choose the gold standard. Choose the food that builds. Choose the egg. Your muscles, your brain, and your future self will thank you for the strength you've preserved. This is the path to a long, vibrant, and powerful life. Now go forth and reclaim your strength.